5 products, all of them work. Every single one does exactly what it was designed to do. And 5 lies told about each one will get you killed. This is not a hit piece on budget gear. I own budget gear. I've recommended budget gear. I will continue to recommend budget gear because budget gear is how most people start, and starting is the only thing that matters. But I will not recommend lies, and the survival industry is absolutely drowning in them. 99.9% of bacteria, full tang in the marketing copy. Works in any weather. If any weather means a sunny afternoon in your backyard with a cold drink within arm's reach. Reflects 90% of body heat inside a sealed laboratory, where nobody has ever needed a blanket in the history of sealed laboratories. 10,000 lumens. For exactly 30 seconds before the laws of thermodynamics walk into the room and tell the marketing department to sit down and shut up. These 5 lies are printed on millions of packages, repeated by hundreds of channels, believed by millions of preppers who are building their survival kits on a foundation of marketing copy instead of physics. Today we're reading the fine print because the fine print is where they buried the body count. Here's your rule for today, and it's the only one that matters. Trust the product, never trust the packaging. Because the product was designed by engineers, the packaging was designed by marketers. And in a survival scenario, those two groups have very different definitions of the word works. Let me tell you how I got here. I spent years building my gear list the way most of you did. I read the reviews. I watched the videos. I bought what everyone recommended. 5 stars, thumbs up. Every prepper needs this. Add to cart, repeat. And honestly, the gear worked in my garage on a Saturday afternoon with my phone in my pocket, in a hospital 12 minutes away, in a pizza place that delivers until 11:01. Then I started looking at what happens when that same gear meets actual survival conditions. Not a camping trip with your buddies where the worst case scenario is warm beer and a sunburn. Not a weekend test where you know you're going home Sunday night and the shower's waiting. Real conditions. The kind where it's been raining for 3 days and you can't remember what dry socks feel like. Where your hands are shaking and you're not sure if it's the cold or the adrenaline or the fact that you haven't slept in 30 hours. Where the nearest help is a memory, not a phone call. Where the only thing standing between you and a very bad outcome is the gear in your pack and the knowledge in your head. And I found something I didn't expect. The products didn't fail. The claims about them did. My water filter was never designed to stop viruses, but the box said purifies water. My knife could handle food prep beautifully all day long, but the listing said survival batoning. My fire starter produced gorgeous sparks in the garage. The marketing said it would do the same thing in a monsoon. There's a difference between what a product does and what the marketing promises it does. And in survival, that difference isn't measured in disappointment or in 1-star reviews. It's measured in body bags. So this video isn't about throwing away your gear. Keep your gear. I'm keeping mine. This is about knowing what your gear actually does, what it doesn't do, and what you need alongside it to close the gap between the marketing fantasy and the survival reality. 5 lies, 5 corrections. Let's go. Lie number 1. This filter purifies your water. If you own a portable water filter, and you should, do me a favor right now. Go grab the packaging or pull up the Amazon listing on your phone. Find the claim section. Does it say removes 99.99% of bacteria and protozoa? Good, that's probably true. Now look for one specific word, virus. If that word isn't there, congratulations. You've just found the first lie. Not a lie they told you, a lie they told you by staying quiet. Here's the thing. Your filter works. I need you to hear that clearly because the internet has trained you to expect every video like this to end with throw it away and buy what I'm selling. I'm not selling anything. Your filter works. Most budget filters, the straws, the squeeze systems, the gravity bags, they use hollow fiber membranes with a pore size around 200 nanometers that catches bacteria and catches protozoa. For camping, for hiking, for filtering creek water on a weekend trip, that's genuinely useful technology doing a genuinely useful job. The problem isn't the filter. The problem is what you were told the filter does. Viruses are between 20 and 300 nanometers. Your filter's pores are 200 nanometers or larger. I'm not a mathematician, but I can tell you that 20 is smaller than 200. The virus doesn't get filtered. It doesn't get slowed down. It passes through your filter like you pass through a highway tunnel without breaking stride, without even knowing the filter was there. An EPA study tested 14 commercially available portable water filters. 14, the kind you see in every top 10 survival gear video. Only three out of 14 met the EPA's standard for virus removal. The other 11 passed beautifully for bacteria, passed with flying colors for protozoa, and let viruses walk right through. Hepatitis A, norovirus, rotavirus. Welcome aboard, gentlemen. The filter didn't even make them uncomfortable. Now here's where the lie becomes lethal. In your kitchen, filtering municipal water, viruses aren't your primary concern. The city water treatment plant handled that. But we're not talking about your kitchen. We're talking about survival. Flood water that's mixed with sewage from a system that backed up 3 days ago. Runoff from compromised land. Contaminated wells in a grid-down scenario where the treatment plant went offline and nobody's coming to fix it because the people who fix it are dealing with the same crisis you are. That's where viral contamination isn't just possible. It's expected. It's the default state of untreated water in a disaster zone. And that's exactly when someone reaches for their filter, remembers the box said purifies water, and drinks with confidence. Confidence the marketing gave them, confidence the data does not support. And 3 days later, when the vomiting and diarrhea start and there's no clinic, no IV drip, no electrolyte replacement, that confidence becomes the most expensive thing they ever bought. More expensive than any filter on the market. There's a second lie hiding inside the first one, and this one's sneaky. Flow rate. Your filter's marketing says 1 liter per minute. And on day one, fresh filter, clean source water, that's true. But here's what they don't put on the box. After 50 liters, that flow rate drops 60 to 75%. After 100 liters, some of these filters are functionally clogged. For one person on a day hike, fine, you'll never notice. For a family of 4 in a crisis, filtering enough water at a liter every 4 minutes isn't hydration, it's rationing. And nobody puts warning, becomes extremely slow after moderate use on the packaging, because that doesn't sell units. The industry tests most budget filters to NSF 42 or 53. Those are taste and odor standards. Great for making your kitchen water taste better. Completely, utterly irrelevant for survival water purification. The survival standard is NSF ANSI P231, which requires 99.99% virus removal. Most sub-$20 filters have never been tested to P231, not because they failed, but because they never took the test, because they knew what the result would be. And it's cheaper to avoid the test than to print the failure. So what do you actually do? You don't throw away your filter, you complete it. Your filter handles bacteria and sediment. That's its job, and it does it well. Now add a second layer. Chlorine dioxide drops like Aquamira cost $12 to $15 for a bottle that treats hundreds of liters. The drops kill viruses through chemical disinfection. Your filter removes bacteria and particulates through mechanical filtration. 2 layers, 2 mechanisms, 1 actual water purification system that does what the marketing always claimed one product could do alone. $15 to close the gap between removes most of what can kill you and removes everything that can kill you. Your filter isn't the enemy, the lie on the box is. Lie number 2, full tang survival knife. Your budget knife probably cuts just fine. Seriously, if all you need is a blade that slices food, processes cordage, does some light carving, your $25 knife from Amazon is doing its job and doing it honestly. The blade is sharp, the handle is comfortable. For the price, it's a legitimate tool doing legitimate work. But type survival knife into that search bar. Sort by best-selling, look at the top 5 results. Every single one says full tang. And the lie isn't that the knife is bad. The lie is that full tang on the listing means full tang in your hand. Full tang means the blade steel runs continuously through the entire handle. One piece of metal, no joints, no weld points, no glue seams holding 2 separate pieces together. This is what gives a knife its structural integrity for heavy tasks, specifically batoning, hammering the blade through wood to split it. It's the single most important structural claim a survival knife can make. Every knife reviewer knows this. Every prepper knows this. Every marketing department absolutely knows this. And that last group is the problem. They put full tang in the title, in the bullet points, in the description, in the photos with a helpful arrow pointing to the knife looking thick and solid and trustworthy, and then they ship you a rat tail tang, which is a thin metal rod extending into the handle with plastic scales glued over it so it looks and feels identical to a real full tang from the outside. Open it up. Different product entirely. Different structural category entirely. Independent teardown tests of the 15 best-selling survival knives under $30 showed that 9 out of 15 had partial tang or rat tail tang despite advertising full tang. 9 out of 15. That's a 60% deception rate on the single most important structural feature of the product. Not a cosmetic detail, not a minor spec variance. The feature that determines whether the knife holds together or becomes two separate pieces while you're swinging a baton at it. But let's be generous. Let's say you got lucky. Let's say your $30 knife actually is full tang. You still have a second lie staring at you from the blade. Most budget knives use 3CR13 or 7CR17 stainless steel. These steels have a Rockwell hardness of 52 to 54 HRC. A working survival knife needs 58 to 60 minimum. Below 58, the edge doesn't chip, it rolls. After 20 minutes of real work, you're not cutting, you're pushing. You're compressing material instead of slicing it. And a dull blade is more dangerous than a sharp one because it requires more force, which means less control, which means the blade goes where physics wants it to go instead of where your hand does. Batoning tests with seasoned hardwood on budget knives under $30 showed catastrophic failure, meaning handle separation, blade snap, or tang bend in over 40% of cases within 30 minutes. When a knife fails during batoning, the blade goes somewhere. A snapped tang sends the blade forward. A separated handle rotates the knife in your grip unpredictably. In a survival scenario with no hospital nearby, a knife failure isn't an equipment problem. It's a medical emergency caused by a marketing lie about a piece of steel. But here's what actually matters. Your budget knife isn't garbage. It cuts food, processes cordage, does light carving. Those are real, valuable survival tasks. The lie wasn't that the knife works. The lie was that it works for everything. It doesn't. No single knife does at any price point. Know what yours can handle, know its limits, and you're fine. Believe the marketing, and you're bleeding in the woods with nobody coming to stitch you up. The correction isn't buy expensive, it's know what your knife is. If you need batoning, buy a knife genuinely built for it. A Morikniv Companion HD is $25, doesn't pretend to be a batoning beast, and does everything else beautifully. Honesty in a product is worth more than features on a listing. Your knife isn't the problem. The listing is. Lie number 3, works in any weather. Every survival channel has a fire-starting video. I know because I've watched most of them, and they all look exactly the same. Beautiful weather, dry tinder arranged like a magazine photo, steady hands, first strike, gorgeous shower of sparks, fire blooms on command, works every time. Now do it soaking wet. 2 in the morning, 15 degrees outside. Your hands are shaking so badly you can barely grip the striker. You haven't eaten in 18 hours. The wind keeps pushing your tinder apart. That's not a YouTube test. That's a survival test. And your $5 ferro rod just failed it. Let me be clear. Ferro rods work. The physics is real. Scrape a cerium alloy against a hardened striker, and it produces sparks at roughly 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's thermochemistry. I'm not telling you ferro rods are a scam. I'm telling you that works in any weather is a scam. And the gap between produces sparks and starts a fire is where the lie lives and where people die. Sparks are not fire. Fire requires sparks that are hot enough, sustained enough, and directed enough to ignite your tinder material. And that depends on 2 things the marketing never mentions: the quality of the cerium alloy in the rod and the quality of the striker you're scraping it with. Budget ferro rods use cheaper alloys with significantly less cerium. Cooler sparks, fewer per strike. In controlled wet condition tests, quality ferro rods with proper strikers achieved ignition of damp tinder within 8 to 12 strikes. Budget rods took 30 plus with an experienced user. Now add cold hands. Fine motor skill degradation at 50 degrees Fahrenheit reduces strike accuracy by roughly 40%. That's military cold weather research. Your fingers don't obey your brain when they're cold. Add darkness, add fatigue, add the fact that you've been awake for 20 hours running on adrenaline. Those 30 strikes become 50, 100, or never. Most budget kits include stamped metal strikers that are actually less effective than the spine of a decent knife. Some deform after a dozen uses. The ferro rod is only as good as the system you pair it with, and budget kits pair their rods with the cheapest possible piece of metal the factory could source. Combined wet conditions plus cold hands plus psychological stress reduces fire starting success below 15% for untrained users with budget equipment. 15%, you fail 85 times out of 100. And hypothermia kills in as little as 3 hours in wet, cold conditions. 3 hours. That's not a day. That's not a night. That's the length of a long movie. Your fire plan has a 15% success rate in exactly the conditions where you need fire most. That's not a tool. That's a lottery ticket with worse odds than most actual lotteries. And you can't buy another ticket. You get one try at not dying, but your ferro rod still has a legitimate place in your kit. It's a backup, a third layer, a last resort that works when everything else has failed. The lie isn't that it works, it does. The lie is that it's enough. It's never enough alone. Fire starting is a system, not a product. Build a 3-layer fire system. Primary, a Bic lighter, $2. It works when you're cold. It works when you're shaking. It works when you're panicking. Works with one hand, works in the dark. Your ego doesn't want to hear that a disposable lighter is your best primary fire tool, but your ego is not a survival asset. Second layer, a quality ferro rod with a proper striker and prepared tinder. Fat wood, waxed cotton balls, anything that catches easily and burns hot even when damp. Third layer, your budget ferro rod as emergency backup. Still useful, still in the kit. 3 layers, never one. Your ferro rod isn't broken. The promise that it's all you need is a lie. Lie number 4 reflects 90% of body heat. Every emergency kit checklist includes a Mylar blanket. Costs $1, weighs nothing, reflects 90% of body heat. All facts, all true. And if you use a Mylar blanket as your primary hypothermia defense, you will very likely die wrapped in facts. Mylar works. The physics is real. It reflects infrared radiation. The 90% number is measured and accurate in a sealed, windless, dry, temperature-controlled laboratory with no ground contact, no moisture, and no air movement. That environment has never existed in any survival scenario in human history. Nobody has ever needed an emergency blanket in a room where the air doesn't move. 3 mechanisms destroy Mylar's field performance, and the marketing mentions 0 of them. Wind. Mylar has 0 insulation value. Let me say that again. Mylar does not insulate, it reflects. Those are different physical processes. Insulation traps air to slow heat transfer. Mylar is a reflective sheet thinner than a garbage bag. It traps no air. Any wind penetrates it completely, stripping your body heat through convection faster than the surface can reflect it back. In winds as low as 10 meter, barely enough to ruffle a flag, effective heat retention drops below 50% of the laboratory claim. 50% of 90 is 4.5. Your Mylar blanket retains 4.5% of your body heat in a light breeze. That's not a blanket. That's a marketing document you can wrap around yourself. Moisture. Your body doesn't know it's not insulated, so it sweats. Mylar is non-breathable. That sweat has nowhere to go. It saturates your clothing, pools on your skin, and wet plus cold is the express lane to hypothermia. This is called paradoxical sweating. The #1 field failure mode of Mylar blankets. The blanket meant to save you from hypothermia is actively accelerating it by trapping your own moisture against your skin inside a non-breathable wrapper. The irony would be funny if people weren't dying from it. Ground conduction. Cold ground steals body heat 25 times faster than air. Your Mylar blanket is above you, reflecting some heat back. Meanwhile, the ground below you is pulling heat out of your body 25 times faster than convection ever could. The blanket is guarding the door while the entire back wall is missing. A study in wilderness and environmental medicine found subjects using only Mylar in simulated survival conditions continued losing core temperature at rates barely better than subjects with no covering at all. The blanket group died slightly slower than the uncovered group. Slightly slower death is not a product feature I want in my kit, but your Mylar blanket is not useless. Inside a shelter, it reduces radiant heat loss. Behind a fire, it reflects warmth toward you. As a ground moisture barrier, it works. As a signal device visible for miles, it works. Keep it. I keep mine. The lie is that it's enough alone. It was never enough alone. Keep your Mylar. Add a closed-cell foam pad for ground insulation. Even a yoga mat piece. Upgrade to a SOL emergency bivy for wind protection and breathability. $15 to $20. With a foam pad, that's $30 total. Now you address all three heat loss mechanisms: radiation, convection, and conduction. All three are nothing. Your blanket isn't broken. Your expectations of it are. Lie number 5, 10,000 lumen tactical flashlight, 2 million results for tactical flashlight on Amazon. Most claim 10,000 lumens. Most say military grade. Most were tested by reviewers who pointed them at their ceiling and went, "Wow, that's bright." Yes, it is bright. That is the entire problem. 10,000 lumens measured at peak output, fresh batteries, room temperature for approximately 30 seconds. Then thermal throttling kicks in because the LED would literally cook itself if it maintained that output. Brightness drops 30 to 50%. After an hour, you're at a fraction of advertised brightness. The number on the box describes a 30-second moment, not a tool you can rely on. Runtime lie, advertise 8 to 10 hours. Actual usable light, 2 to 3 hours. The remaining runtime is moonlight mode. Light technically on, practically useless. The long-tail runtime trick is industry standard. The packaging isn't lying. It's just telling a version of truth that's worthless in practice. But the runtime lie is the least dangerous one. Here's the lie that actually gets people hurt. And it's one word: tactical. In any grid-down scenario, light discipline is doctrine. Not optional, not a suggestion. 1,000 lumen flashlight is visible from over a mile away. You're not illuminating your path. You're broadcasting your position, your direction of travel, and your inventory to everyone within line of sight. That's not tactical, that's a dinner bell. And the damage goes both ways. 1,000 lumens bleaches your retinal rhodopsin, the protein that enables night vision. Turn the light off and you're functionally blind for 20 to 30 minutes while it regenerates. In a survival scenario, those minutes aren't an inconvenience. They're an attack window you just opened and gift-wrapped with a bow on top. Military doctrine has been explicit about this for decades, which makes the word tactical on these flashlights especially insulting to anyone who's actually served. White light in uncertain environments is a last resort. Standard is red or green filtered light at minimum brightness. Red preserves your night-adapted vision. Low output means short-range visibility without long-range broadcasting. This is week 1, day 1 Fieldcraft. Most budget tactical flashlights have no red filter, no sublumen mode, no diffuser. One-speed retinal assault, designed for maximum brightness, which is exactly what you don't want when the lights go out for real. And most use proprietary rechargeable batteries. Grid down. Where are you charging them? Proprietary batteries become dead weight when infrastructure disappears. You need standardized cells, AA, Shaku AIA, or 18640 lithium cells that exist in every store, abandoned house, and dead remote control on the planet. Your flashlight makes light. That's useful for power outages and checking the basement. The lie is tactical. Tactical means the right light at the right time, in the right spectrum, and darkness when darkness serves you better. A spotlight-only flashlight is a signal flare with a handle. The correction? Sophiern CP10 Pro, AA or 14500 cells. Sub-lumen moonlight mode for navigation without destroying night vision. Under $30 at a $2 red filter. Now you have actual light discipline for $32. Your flashlight isn't tactical. Fine. Calling it tactical and using it like it is, that's the problem you can solve for the price of a fast food meal. Let's bring it all together. Here's the truth table. Not what to buy, what to know. Your water filter removes bacteria and protozoa. It does not remove viruses, and the box let you believe it did. $15 in chlorine dioxide drops completes your water system, your knife cuts and carves. If the listing said full tang, 60% chance it lied. Know what your knife actually is. Use it for what it actually does. Your ferro rod produces sparks. In real survival conditions, success rate drops below 15%. Three-layer fire system, lighter first, quality rod second, budget rod as emergency backup. Never one layer alone. Your Mylar blanket reflects radiant heat. Wind kills it. Moisture reverses it. Ground conduction ignores it. Add a foam pad and a bivy. $30 for a system instead of a single point of failure. Your flashlight makes light. Tactical means discipline, not brightness. Sublumen mode. Red filter. Standard batteries. $32 for real field capability instead of a position broadcasting spotlight. I didn't tell you to throw a single product away. Every one of them belongs in your kit. None of them work alone. None of them do what the marketing says. And the gap between what the box promises and what the product delivers is where people die. Not because the product failed, because the lie succeeded. Total cost to fix every gap on this list. About $60 in additions to gear you already own. Not replacements, additions. $60 to close the distance between marketing and reality across 5 of the most critical systems in your survival kit. The survival industry doesn't sell you bad products. I want to be absolutely clear about that. The filters filter, the knives cut, the rods spark, the blankets reflect, the lights shine. Everything does what it was designed to do. The industry sells you incomplete stories about what those products can do. And in survival, an incomplete story has the exact same outcome as no story at all. Your gear works. Your gear is not enough. Both of those things are true at the same time. And I know that's uncomfortable. It's much easier to believe one or the other. Either my gear is fine and I'm prepared, or my gear is garbage and I need to start over. The truth is messier than both. Your gear does its job. Its job is smaller than you were told. The moment you accept both simultaneously, you stop being a customer and start being a survivor. Customers read packaging. Survivors read test reports. And survivors are the ones who are still around to complain about the fine print. If you made it this far, you're not the kind of person who reads the front of the box and walks away satisfied. You're the kind who flips it over, reads the fine print, and asks the questions the manufacturer hoped you wouldn't. If this breakdown changed how you look at the gear in your pack, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. We are uncovering the truths that marketing departments try to bury. Prepare for reality, not the fantasy. The next survival insight will be revealed soon. Test everything, trust nothing, stay alive.